When Russia defeated the Ottoman Empire and took Crimea, it meant that there was an obstacle in the way. And they had to devise ways and means to try to get Russia out of Crimea. For 200 to 300 years, they could not do it. And Russia remained a naval power with a naval base in Crimea. And then they brought about the Crimean War, in which it was the last great war fought before modern weapons came. The last great war. And in that war they gave everything that they could give to defeat Russia, to deny Russia Crimea. And they succeeded, eventually. Russia paid a terrible price. The number of people who died. The Russians fought and fought valiantly and courageously, but eventually they had to surrender. And the terms of the surrender, I think the treaty was in Paris, was that Crimea would remain under Russian sovereignty but would be demilitarized. Russia denied Crimea as a naval base, which is what they wanted. But they planned their plan, and the Lord God plans his plans, and I think it was within 7 or 9 years, and Russia was able to turn the tables and get back Crimea as a naval port. So then they had to devise yet another scheme to deny Russia Crimea. And that scheme was the Bolshevik Revolution, 1917, and the Soviet Union. And when the Soviet Union came into being, then Ukraine was born. There was no Ukraine before. And in 1953, 53 or 54, 6 years after Israel was born, Nikita Khrushchev suddenly, mysteriously, ominously mysteriously, announced that Crimea was going to be given to Ukraine. He never consulted the Russian people. He never got their permission. He never consulted the people of Crimea. He never got their permission because he was acting on behalf of Dajjal. And once Crimea was given to Ukraine, the next step was to dismember the Soviet Union, and Crimea would emerge as an independent state. Russia would now have a treaty with Crimea limiting its use of the naval base. Yes, Ukraine would now become an independent state, and Ukraine would have a treaty with Russia limiting the use of the naval base. And then the next step after that would be, with Ukraine as an independent state, for Ukraine to become a member of NATO, and then Russia's goose is cooked. If Ukraine becomes a member of NATO and Crimea belongs to Ukraine, Russia's goose is cooked. But they planned their plan, and the Lord God planned his plans. And when they had the bogus color revolution in Kiev, within 2 weeks, Crimea was back where it belonged in the first place, to Russia. As soon as Russia regained Crimea, Russia is a nuclear power. Russia is able to project nuclear power around the Black Sea. And the geostrategic implications were enormous. And so this is why I've said the Zionist movement suffered its greatest loss in its entire history. From the day the Zionist movement was established in Basel in 1897 to this day, the greatest loss that the Zionist movement has ever suffered was the loss of Crimea. And so the events in Ukraine are to be understood from our eschatological perspective as directed primarily to the importance of Crimea and Russia's role in the end times to be the naval power in a post-nuclear world. Now that Russia has regained Crimea, the pieces are already in place, the nuclear war is coming, and we know what's going to happen after that.